Yet another 2015 first-round draft pick wants out, as Senyshyn has joined Jake DeBrusk in officially making a trade request from the Boston Bruins. Going to talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Thursday, December 23rd, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day in 2021. It's been a fantastic year for the podcast, and all of those of you who have subscribed, listened regularly, very much appreciate it. Even if you've done so once, it really means a lot. And hopefully we can continue to grow in the new year. So please do subscribe if you have not already. Free and available on whatever podcast app you use. Podcast also recently made available on YouTube. So please do subscribe there as well. You can comment on each episode. We can keep the conversation going there. For those of you on social media, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins on both Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. By way of introduction, for anybody who's new, I'm a lifelong Bruins fan. Grew up in Ottawa, Ontario, and have been following the Bruins forever. First began writing about them about 16 years ago now when Joe Thornton was traded. And worked for 5 years as a full-time hockey writer for The Score. Have written for SB Nation, covered junior hockey prospects for them most recently. They've been hosting this podcast for a couple of years now. As I mentioned off the top, we all know that Jake DeBrusk has made a public trade request that has yet to be accommodated. He is now joined by fellow 2015 first-round pick Senyshyn. This was reported yesterday by Mark Divver of Rinkside, Rhode Island. He is extremely plugged in with the Providence Bruins, and he had the exclusive interview with Zach expressing his desire to have a change of scenery. Zach Senyshyn said, "It's been a long journey with Boston and Providence. Super thankful to everyone in Providence for all of their help in the development of my game, but I want to play in the NHL. I feel like I haven't been given that opportunity in the Bruins organization." This was Senyshyn speaking by phone from Ottawa, where he is home for Christmas. Of course, he was drafted 15th overall in 2015. He is partway through his 5th season with the Providence Bruins. He has had 3 very brief stints in the NHL, the most recent of which being last season. 14 games total, 1 goal, 2 assists with the Boston Bruins. He said he feels his game has gotten to the level where he's ready to play, ready to make an impact. And with the way the Bruins organization has been going, it doesn't seem like he's in the mix. Now, the 2015 draft has been debated since day one. The Bruins picked Jakub Zboril, 13th overall, Jake DeBrusk, 14th overall, and then snagged Senyshyn with the 15th pick. Zboril made a trade request a couple years ago, but he made the jump to the NHL level this season. Looked very good in his time there before tearing his ACL. He'll be out for the remainder of the regular season, but he seems like a mainstay in the Bruins defense core for, quite some time into the future. DeBrusk, of course, came out guns blazing, made an immediate impact for the Bruins, has fallen off over the past couple of years. He wants to be traded. And now Senyshyn, who hasn't really had a long crack at the NHL, is also asking for a trade. We'll talk about the 2015 draft in general here in a moment, but more from Senyshyn. He said he just feels like he needs a fresh start with all the backlash with the media, considering where I was drafted and everything going on there. It's just been a lot emotionally. He feels as though a fresh start is best. Not really being utilized in the Boston organization, not being used at all. Feels as though it's better for them to get some return and for me to get a fresh start. Now, whether the Bruins will be able to get any return for Senyshyn, who's on a 1 year, 2-way contract. He's already passed through waivers once. Debatable whether or not they'll be able to recoup anything, or if it's just a matter of buying him out, letting him go to restricted free agency this summer, walking away. That's a whole other conversation. But he is a goal-scoring winger. He has been since his days with the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL. He's become a 2-way player with elite speed in Providence. He can forecheck effectively. He's killing penalties, can chip in offensively. Tied with Oscar Steen for the team lead in goals with 8. In the NHL, he would project to be kind of a 3rd line, 4th line winger, along the same lines as what the Bruins have been wanting Carson Kuhlman to become. It's interesting to me that Kuhlman continues to get opportunity after opportunity, whereas Senyshyn does not. It doesn't really add up, especially if you're going to reach for a guy in the draft. You might as well see what you have in him. Senyshyn said he's developed a lot as a player from when he first came into the AHL. He feels like his game has grown a lot. He's 24 years old, about to turn 25. If the Bruins don't use him as an asset now, there's only so much more he can do to try to fit into the mix. It's come to the point where we can part ways, and I can help another team, he said, that needs more help than the Bruins need with his skill set. He feels he has a unique skill set where he's a fast skater, can play up and down the lineup thanks to the development he's had in the AHL. He was last recalled in March of 2021, but he did suffer an upper body injury in his first game, and he was not one of the first players called up, or one of the first handful of players called up when the Bruins had their COVID outbreak and needed a bunch of reinforcements for the game against the Islanders, and that really hit home for Senyshyn. He was in the playoff bubble in 2020, a loyal soldier for a long time, he said. Time and time again, guys have been put ahead of him, and those guys have been given the opportunity to develop and grow. He said, if I was given some of the opportunities at the NHL level, maybe I would have been able to produce. Injuries plagued me when I was up there, but I still feel as though my game has always been there to be able to contribute and to at least be a positive effect on that group up there. He's been an assistant captain the last 2 seasons. He said he will report to Providence after the holiday break, continue to work on his game. Adding, my biggest priority is getting my game to be the best it can be, and that's going to be by playing, being a good leader and teammate, and doing all those things. It won't be by sitting at home. My focus is still on developing my game and helping my team, but I'm just at the point now where I'm ready for that change. Now, interestingly, Senyshyn's agent is Andy Scott of Octagon Hockey, the same agent that represents Jake DeBrusk, who has also asked to be traded. We're going to get a bit more into this and talk about the 2015 draft in general. But first, a quick word about StatHero. Nobody plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better. But traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you're up against. StatHero is the first of its kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in a head-to-head fantasy matchup. Winner take all. StatHero shows you their lineups before you play, and you handpick the team you want to face one-on-one. It's a never-seen-before innovation, and your odds are over 4 times better of succeeding because you don't have to compete against thousands of experts or unknowns. You're in control of your fate. You get the team that you can handpick to go up against. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/hockey and use promo code hockey for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/hockey. Use promo code hockey for a 100% match. Terms and conditions apply. Now, I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game. Obviously, there are no games right now, but do subscribe for when the games do come back. So I mentioned there that Senyshyn's agent is Andy Scott of Octagon Hockey, same agent that represents Jake DeBrusk, who has also asked to be traded. And, on social media last night, the Bruins widely laughed at, mocked, criticized for the 2015 draft. It's almost 7 years since that draft, and it's still an issue for the Boston Bruins and will be for years to come. Let's be honest. The Bruins had the opportunity to draft Matt Barzal, who we hope is okay. Still seems to be missing in Long Island, according to head coach Barry Trotz. They had the opportunity to draft Kyle Connor who went to the Winnipeg Jets, Thomas Chabot, who's a star defenseman for the Ottawa Senators, Brock Besser, Travis Konechny, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Jack Roslovich. These are all guys who have emerged as pretty good talents for their respective teams. Anthony Beauvillier. It's just the list goes on and on. Andrew Mangiapane, he was a 6th-round pick. You can excuse everybody for passing on him, but the point stands. The Bruins, you could argue Zboril was selected where he was supposed to be. He was pretty highly ranked. You could make a case for Jake DeBrusk. Obviously, he popped off early, was very successful in his first couple of seasons, contributed in the playoffs, but then Senyshyn, a major head scratcher at the time. And you heard in his comments to Mark Divver that he's heard the backlash in the media among the fan base. Zboril even went as far as to delete his social media in order to kind of reframe and refocus. And all that to say, it wasn't these guys who drafted themselves, okay? It was the Bruins who made those decisions. And these kids, well, they're not really kids anymore. Senyshyn's about to turn 25, but they shouldn't be held to the standard of a first-round pick because they shouldn't have been selected in the first round. From what I have seen of Senyshyn in Providence and in limited time with the Boston Bruins, he does have the skill set to be a third-line, fourth-line winger and an effective one for the Boston Bruins. He has elite speed. He can kill penalties. He's a forechecker. He's put in the work to become a two-way forward for the Boston Bruins. And it's baffling to me that they have not given him that opportunity. They have called him up. He's gotten injured a couple times. Looked okay when he was in the lineup. Got injured, and then once healthy, wasn't able to find his way back into the lineup. But if you look at last week, you had Oscar Steen called up. He went out with COVID. You had Jack Stanika called up. Jesper Froden called up. Carson Kuhlman continues to get opportunities at the NHL level. Anton Bleed, he's been a valuable checking winger for the Boston Bruins this season. But, what has Kuhlman done at the NHL level that we don't think Senyshyn can do? He's played 74 games, 7 goals, 8 assists, 15 points. Is that going to be that much better than what you can get from Senyshyn? Why not give him the opportunity to see what you have in him? If you drafted him in the first round, you obviously saw something in him. So give him the opportunity. That's all I'm saying. And now, he's obviously discontent with not being given a chance, wants a change of scenery. Whether or not the Bruins will trade him, can trade him. Will anybody want to take a flyer on him? Will anybody want to give up a draft pick for him? Probably not. He went through waivers. Nobody picked him up. Maybe a future considerations deal, maybe a late pick. Maybe he can be packaged with a DeBrusk or with a John Moore in a cap dump move as a sweetener. Who knows? But the reality is both the player and the team are best served right now calling him up, giving him a shot and seeing what they have in him. If there's something there, then perhaps he can, prove that he belongs there, or perhaps he can raise his trade value. But it would be a win-win, I think, to have him come up, see what they have there. Looking back at this past offseason, you bring in Nick Foligno, you bring in Eric Howla, you bring in Thomas Nosek. You're bumping out guys who have been putting in the work and who have been looking to earn their spot with the big club, like an Oscar Steen, like a Jack Stanika, like a Zach Senyshyn. Why not save that money in the offseason, give these guys a chance early on, see what you have in them, and then if not, you explore the trade market or you make moves at the deadline to improve the roster. Clearly, the Bruins are moving towards a rebuild. The whiffs at the 2015 draft set them back markedly. Obviously, they'd be better off with some of the more talented players that were picked after them. Although, you have to take into account the cap considerations. Barzal, Connor, Shabbat, all making big money at this point. Would you have been able to re-sign them all? Who knows? But you would have had those assets who performed in their entry-level deals, and you could have flipped them for other players, what have you. Everybody can point to draft swings and misses. Even, some Islanders fans pointing to this draft, Giddy over Matt Barzal. Just look a year earlier. You picked Michael Dalcol, 4th overall or 5th overall. David Pastrnak went in the 20s. These things happen at the draft from time to time. It's amplified, magnified, because the Bruins had those 3 picks in a row. And like I said, Zboril looks like a keeper for sure. DeBrusk, who knows what's going to happen with him? He looks like he's going to be on the way out once the trade freeze comes. Senyshyn on the way out. I do have a soft spot for Zach because he is an Ottawa boy. Like I said, I grew up there as well. He went to the same high school as my nephew. By all accounts, is a very good kid who has a good head on his shoulders. I don't think he's being unreasonable at all by, not being happy with not getting a long-term look at the NHL level. Closing on his 25th birthday, you could say he hasn't earned it. But if you're just looking at his production at the AHL level, you could make that argument, although he is scoring at a 30-goal pace this year. He was last year as well at the AHL level, and he has put in a lot of work to round out his game and become a two-way player like the Bruins covet. So credit to him there. I wish Zach the best moving forward, whether it's with the Bruins or whether it's with another NHL team. I do think there is something there that will be a benefit to an NHL team, as a third line, fourth line, energy guy, speed, forechecking, penalty kill, who has a wicked shot, who can put the puck in the net. He is everything the Bruins want Carson Kuhlman to be. And I just don't get why Kuhlman's been given extended opportunities, whereas Senyshyn has not. It doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, that's the latest from the Boston Bruins. Of course, they are on a pause. I believe Charlie McAvoy and David Pastrnak are scheduled to meet with the media today. I would expect that just to be a general catch-up. How you doing? How are you feeling about not going to the Olympics? Things like that. Not quite sure if I'm going to record a podcast tomorrow, but if I do, I'll be sure to touch on whatever they say in those availabilities. Now, BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Football season marches towards the playoffs. Basketball is in full effect at both the pro and college levels. BetOnline is your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website. Sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. They have you covered. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers at BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, of course, the NHL is on pause at the moment, and the big story yesterday was the NHL's withdrawal from the 2020 Winter Olympics. A lot of players disappointed, among them Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Patrick Kane. They're all lamenting the decision to withdraw from the games. Jimmy Murphy of Boston Hockey Now reports the decision caused some strife within the NHLPA. One player agent told him that players he spoke to were ticked off. Winnipeg Jets goalie Connor Hellebuck also has told Winnipeg media that the league's COVID protocols are a little overkill, he said. Now, all of this was, of course, based on rising COVID cases, wanting to fit a full 82-game season. And I think once the players step back and see that it's necessary to get those games in order to put the cap up, to make up losses caused by the pandemic, then, things should level off at some point. It's an emotional decision right now, of course. Now, as far as the Bruins go, I would expect, obviously, that Don Sweeney will no longer be involved. He was going to be an assistant general manager. Doug Armstrong has already stepped down. Bill Guerin stepped down from Team USA. Bruce Cassidy will obviously step down as an assistant coach. And we'll have to see who exactly goes to the Olympics now for the respective nations, for Team USA, for Team Canada. I would expect the KHL will have a leg up, Russia will have a leg up because of KHL players. There were a couple notable players to enter COVID protocol still yesterday. Frederik Andersen of the Carolina Hurricanes, Evander Kane of the Sharks, who's playing down in the AHL. So those guys, their returns will be put off even further than when the NHL is expecting to return, which is on Monday. The Bruins are expected to play at home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. As far as NHL.com's power rankings go, heading into the Christmas break, they have the Bruins at 16th. As far as what they want at the holidays, a wish list, they want Tuukka Rask. They need an experienced goalie who will help them in a push to make the playoffs. Cam Neely said Wednesday the Bruins have yet to discuss a contract with Rask, who has said he will only sign with them. At the moment, the Bruins, kind of a middling team. 16th is very fair for them. Points-wise, they're 21st in the NHL, but they rise a bit. If you look at point percentage, they're ahead of teams with more points than them, such as the Stars, the Jets, the Kings, the Red Wings, notably, as well as the Sharks. All have more points than them, but the Bruins with a 577 point percentage are higher in the standings and would be a playoff team at this point. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Sorry for the mini 2015 rant. Again, these guys did not draft themselves. Blame management, scouting for reaching for those guys. Don't blame those guys for being reached for. And, I don't disagree with Senyshyn when he says that he deserves an extended look at the NHL level and that the Bruins haven't given that to him. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. Like I said, I'll try to jump on and record a quick one tomorrow before the Christmas break. I hope you're all doing well. Crazy times out there. Please do stay safe. Please try to stay positive. I know it's difficult. I am doing that myself. It's a struggle, but just taking it one day at a time. I'm sure you could hear the kids in the background. They're ramped up from the holidays, from not knowing whether they're going to go back to school, just trying to take it one day at a time and make the best of this holiday break. So thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Boston Bruins. I really do appreciate it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you again here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Take care, friends.